My name is Vincent, but you can call me Vinny, Sir, Chef, Genius, or the handsome guy from YouTube. It's up to you, you decide. We're going to make fresh pasta today, which is Italian of course, but we're not going to knock you over the head with Italian. I'm Vincent Severio Mastrangelo, I think that's Italian enough. With the father from Sicily and the mother from Naples to prove it, and the wiffle ball bat marks on my legs. So, first thing we're going to start with is we're going to need some semolina flour and some all-purpose flour. You're going to take 2 cups of semolina flour, and we're going to sift this. This is a sifter. You all know what that is. We're going to make sure the flour comes out nice with no lumps. It's going to be very important to make the pasta not be doughy. So you take the 2 cups of semolina, we're going to sift that through. And then we're going to do the same thing with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. It's a very simple recipe. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. That's pretty easy, huh? So once we sift this through, we'll be fine. Formerly from Queens, I'm currently living in Studio City, and if you ask my friends, I'm always on Mars. So once you get the flour sifted and combined, you want to kind of mix it together because you got semolina and all-purpose. And semolina flour is a little coarser than regular flour. It's a little sandy, which is going to be great when you're actually mixing the dough together, and the pasta later on is going to help keep it separated. But it also has a great color, and it has a nice egg yolk color. So once we get these ingredients incorporated, we're going to add just a pinch of salt, which is just a pinch. Okay? We're going to mix that together. And we're going to flip this on our board and turn it into a little well, like a volcano. And then we'll do most of the work right here on ice. So we're going to make a little mix here. You can do this in a bowl, you can do it in a processor. I always find this is the best way to do it. This is how I learned it, and it makes the most sense. It's easiest to clean up. So once that's done, we're going to get to the eggs. So we're going to add a couple of eggs, and then a couple just of egg yolks. And the egg yolk, what it does is it gives you a nice sheen, a nice color, that nice yellow, supple, kind of what pasta dough looks like, right? So that's important. To do all egg yolks, then you got to add more olive oil. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil, only 2 tablespoons. If you do all egg yolks, you got to add about 6 tablespoons of oil. You don't want to do that. So when we do an egg yolk, I'm sure you guys have done this before if you're cooking. Get a nice crack there. This is how we're going to separate it. Just here in the bowl. Easy enough, right? So that's 1, 2. Anybody that ever made custard has gone through this process, I'm sure. 3, you want to do 1 more, maybe 4 total. So this is 3 and 4. So if you're wearing jewelry, now's a good time to take it off because you're going to get messy and it's going to get sticky. And whenever you do anything with your hands, you should probably take off your jewelry. It's not sanitary to leave that on. So what we're going to do here is mirror our well. We dumped our eggs in. We got our egg yolks and our whole eggs. We're going to start beating them together. And once we get that incorporated a little bit, then we'll put 2 tablespoons of olive oil in this. So it's a pretty easy task, and it's kind of fun thing to do. You're going to get a little messy, but that's the best part of cooking, eating your hands dirty. So when people tell you your pasta tastes great, where'd you get it? You can tell them, not from a box. I made it with my hands. We have a good friend that likes to tell us that this comes in a box. We know it comes in a box. We bought it, we've eaten it. But that's why we're making it now at home. So we're almost there. Got that going. Now we want to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. These are always great to have on hand if you can find them. Sometimes they find their way around the kitchen. 2 tablespoons, we're good to go. Drop this off here. We're going right back to just incorporating. And now as we're mixing, we're going to start bringing the flour into the well. Slowly, and then you'll start to see it come together, and it'll slowly get to become one big mass. But it's going to be a little bit messy at first. You're going to think you kind of made a mistake and you kind of screwed up, but you didn't. It's just a process. So you just want to slowly bring in the walls of the side into the kind of flour and water and eggs. So we've got it all incorporated with the fork. You can see it's kind of come together in kind of a mess. It's still nice and wet, which is good most times. And we're going to try to get this a little bit more of a solid, to one big round lump together. Once it comes together, we're going to spend a little time on this thing. So we're going to have to knead it for about 6 to 7 or 8 minutes. It's going to take a little bit of work, and that's why those Italian women have giant forearms. They're not just bookmaking, they're actually making pizza dough or pasta dough. Some excess flour here, and you're going to have some. It's pretty much because you want to be able to work. If I didn't have that flour here, it's not all going to be incorporated to the dough. I'd have to go and get flour. So that's kind of why the recipe calls for more flour than you think you need, but you do need it. It's for working. So now that we've got it kind of worked into nice one big piece of dough, we're going to start actually kneading it. And that means you're going to start pressing it, and you're going to start rolling your heels of your hands and your forearms and spreading it out, folding it over, and spreading it out. All right, that's how I got these muscles. You think that's just me in the gym? No. I have a fiance who likes to eat, and she likes to eat well. Trust me. We kneaded it for about 5 or 6 minutes, and now we have a nice supple is how they say it, right? It should feel smooth and supple and have this nice little sheen to it. It's nice yellow, almost like the color of the semolina flour. It's back to that state. So you can see the egg yolks really came through. So we're still going to knead a little bit and get it to a nice little ball. And then once we do that, we're going to cover it and let it rest. It's very important to let the dough rest, otherwise it's going to be tough. If we use a mixer and don't use by hand, like I said, I've learned by hand. People can do it. You do large amounts of this, you probably would do a mixer. But if you don't have the right mixer, you can't use a food processor. It's going to make it tough. The spinning of the electric is going to make it hot, and it's just not going to be the right kind of consistency. So we have a nice big round ball of dough. Look, it's perfect. So we're back. We have the dough resting in the refrigerator, the nice piece of dough we put together, and we're actually going to make all the other ingredients and get them prepped for that dish. We're going to actually do a pappardelle with a brown butter sauce with crushed pistachios, broccolini, and some beautiful baby portobello mushrooms that have been cleaned and stemmed. We have some shell pistachios, okay? And very simply, you could actually crush these up in a food processor if you have one, but sometimes you don't, and sometimes you just like to crush somebody's nuts, so you can do it right here. And that's what we're gonna do, okay? I usually leave this job to my girlfriend on a Sunday after I've been badgering her for a week, or my fiance now. See, that's something she's gonna wanna crush my nuts about because I told her my girlfriend. And then you're gonna dump this onto the dish towel, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab either a mallet, we happen to have one, or a hammer, and we're gonna just crush these. You gotta crush them because you want to have bite-sized little pieces that are going to blend with the sauce. When the butter starts to get into them, they'll become a little less firm. If you had them whole, it just wouldn't work. It'd be too much of a chunk in your mouth. We're gonna get better. Actually, this isn't better. My mother used to use this to beat me up when I was a kid. She chased me around the house when she didn't have the wiffle ball bat, because my father usually had that one. The wiffle ball bat had a little more longer reach, so harder to get to me when I was under the bed with this. I'm finished crushing my nuts. Yeah, I said that. So that's done. So what we want to do now is just get them back into a bowl. You know, very nice and easy. Look how easy this is. Scoop it, put it in, and then you're going to want to send this beautiful dish towel into the laundry room. So that's done. It's part of our project that's out of the way. Next we're going to do is we're going to cut up some mushrooms. We just went over the mushrooms and cleaning them and why we do that. And now we're going to stem them because they're going to be easier to keep on the board and cut. So just a very simple cut, you know. Nice sliced mushroom, nice size, not too thin, not too thick. You want to keep all your vegetables pretty much the same size as we're cutting them, depending on. So the broccolini, basically, when we cut that up, it's going to be at least lengthwise the same size as the mushroom. You want to keep them at the same size, so when you're cooking, they cook evenly. And of course, depending on the mushroom or depending on the vegetable, this depends when you put it in the pan. So the broccolini is going to go in first because they're going to cook a lot longer than the mushrooms are going to cook a lot. But we like to cook, so you never want to have your fingers exposed. That's very dangerous. You want to tuck them and use this as a guide. So basically, if you see here, my fingers are tucked, and I'm never going to chop anything off. I leave it exposed. So you just want to tuck and cut. And if you're doing so, I can look up and know that I'm not going to cut my finger off. Okay. So if you do lose one of your fingers, you just tell your friends, I'll take the 4th horse in the 9th race. Remember that. So I pour myself a nice glass of wine because when we cook, it's about love and enjoying yourself. So drinking up a little bit while you're cooking is always fun. You have a little music in the background. It's always very nice and pleasant. So always enjoy. Chin down. That means 100 years. So we're gonna bang some garlic, and this is good because last night I didn't get laid, so I get to bang the garlic. So that's good. So what you want to do is get a towel, or it gets messy. You know how the wrapper gets sticks to your hand. So I usually like to take a towel or a paper towel when I first just break it apart, so it's not flying everywhere all over the place. You know, and that's kind of a nice little secret I have. Well, not my secret, but one I'm sharing with you. And then what we're going to do is just to separate the garlic from the skin and not have to peel it and take forever, like some of our friends spend a lot of time doing that. We just like to do that. This is garlic from the Gilroy Garlic Festival, is that right? A friend of ours brought it back to us. So you see how that happens here? And just by banging and releasing, you're doing two things. You're separating the garlic from the skin, you see, and the oils are coming out. So that garlic now has been broken, and it's going to be more flavorful that way. So you want to do just one whole hit for this dish. Alright, So we're gonna do a nice fine dice, unless you have a garlic press, which that's easy, but I kind of like chopping, cutting, and it relieves a lot of my stress, and believe me, I have a lot. So what you want to do when you have a whole big piece of garlic like this, you want to get it as thin as possible. The other ones that are there, like this, the little ones, you'll just get to that later. But so I get nice little slices going, which we're going to then cut another lengthwise. So just get that out of the way and get to the next one. And again, you're protecting your fingers at all times. Very important. A little tip for you: if you're ever making a garlic paste, which we like to use on breads and spreads and whatnot, if you're doing something like this with the garlic, you would just actually basically take a little piece of this. You throw a little salt in there, nice coarse. Salt, sea salt even, and you would cut and then you would slide and scrape, and that would turn into a nice little paste. You take your garlic, you throw a little salt in there, and then you just scrape it and push against the board, and slowly that would become a paste. So that's something nice. It's a nice salty paste. You use that in dips, on bread, even in pasta sauces with garlic and oil. The garlic's done, chopped, and scooped into a nice little bowl so it's ready to use. Always want to prep your ingredients in advance. You don't want to be the last man at the party, everything you have to rush around the house. You want to have stuff ready to go. That's why we do all this stuff ahead of time. When I was chopping the garlic, I realized that my cutting board was moving quite a bit, and that's a pain in the neck, and it could be dangerous. So what you do is get yourself a damp paper towel, a little wet paper towel. You want to get it right under the cutting board, okay? And now, as you can see, it's not going anywhere. Broccoli raw. It's very hard to find here, so we get the next best thing, which is broccolini. We want to cut it the same size as the mushrooms, and we're going to saute this with the butter and the garlic. So just a nice, rough chop. Nothing too fine. The stems maybe we'll cut a little bit down because they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. Okay. And now all of our ingredients are done and we're ready to go. All we got to do is start cooking. The water's boiling and the jello is jiggling, as they say. The dough is in the fridge. So I'm going to go get the dough. That's been resting for it's about 35, 40 minutes maybe. And you'll see it looks amazing. Now that we have the dough out and we're going to be working with it, very important to have some semolina flour. We talked about it before. It's in the side of the dough. We're going to now use it to help separate. And just pretty much when you ever see someone put a pizza in an oven and they got to get that pizza out and they put it on the board, they usually sprinkle the semolina or any kind of coarse kind of flour because it helps it move. It's almost like actually wheels to get it off, okay? So we're going to just throw that down so it doesn't stick. I'm going to cut off a nice little slice. Okay? We're rolling a nice little piece of dough, which is going to go through our pasta machine, right? I used to do this strictly by hand, always by hand, just to roll it out, get it very, very thin, into a lot of work, and then cut it. And then my lovely fiance, who is not here, so that sucks because she needs to hear a compliment every once in a while, bought me this wonderful pasta machine, and it's awesome. It's really cool. It's a big help. So one nice feed, and you want to put a little tension on the other side of the pasta so it doesn't get ripped. Now a lot of people like to fold it over twice the second time, and it needs it again. It's not a step you have to do, but we're going to do that today. Perfect. So you want to go down a couple of steps. We're going to start at 7, we're going to go to 6 in a second, and then 5 and 4. 4 is about right when you're doing pappardelle, fettuccine, or linguine. If you're going to do lasagna or ravioli, you probably go down to 3 or 2. Okay, and you can see through it, that means it's pretty thin. This is 5 right now. You can't see through it, that's good. If you can see through it, that's more like a ravioli lasagna, but it's getting a little long and hard to work with, so what you want to do at that point, you just cut it in half. Just make it easier to work with. You don't want to kill yourself. And we're going to go back through 5 again and get a little longer. That's looking about right. We're going to pop it to 4. Very, very easy machine to work with. So basically, if I was doing this by hand, I'd be rolling this for quite a long time to get this kind of texture and this thing. So you can see now it's one nice big piece, and it's almost, can't see through it, almost translucent, but it's perfect. Get a cookie sheet out. You want to line out with semolina. I'm going to put some semolina on top so they don't stick together, and it's going to be perfect. Now, all right, we cut our pasta and we roll it out. We have these nice, beautiful sheets of pasta. When you roll it out, you get a couple of thin sheets, sometimes a little scrap, which is what we have here. We're going to make pappardelle. What you do is we hand cut that. It's basically like a very wide linguine, but it's much more toothy and meaty, and it really lends itself to the kind of pasta or dish we're making. But just to show you how this machine works, it has a few different attachments. The roller is what I use the most. But then it comes with a spaghetti or capellini or angel hair cutter, as well as a fettuccine cutter. So I'm gonna just show you how these. You just pop out this little piece right here, and that's two. Is one of the easiest machines I've ever used making pasta. So you got the fettuccine cut. You want to slide it right through, and voila, on the other side of this machine is pasta. So what you want to do is you're having family over, friends, kids. You want to save that part till they get there.
Another one.
Should I do capellini?
Yes, sir.
Show the difference. Show spaghetti. Spaghetti. See? Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Look at that. That's nice. So we're ready to cut now, hand cut made pappardelle. We did some linguine with the machine and we showed you how it looked. We even did some capellini just to give you an idea how to use the machine. And it's great if you want to do that. And some dishes lend itself. But when you have big vegetables and hearty, sometimes a big thick pasta, it's good. Pappardelle is good for that. Got a second pan ready that's lined with some foil and some semolina. So we're gonna cut and we're gonna put into the pan. So just a nice long big slice. So basically, like I said, it's an uneven, unmachined, very human-like piece of pasta. Nothing's gonna be perfect. They're not gonna be the same. It's pappardelle, and that's the best part about it. You see how it looks? Nice. So we're just gonna cut nice long strips, and that's gonna be it. Cut them in half. Pappardelle should be not as long as a linguine, not as long. So you kind of want to have a nice, this is about the piece you're looking for. That's a pappardelle. We're going to make long slices. And we're done. You want to keep them somewhat consistent because we want them to cook evenly, but you don't got to be perfect. And that's, again, when people see imperfection, they know that that was done on purpose and it's, you know, it was done with your bare hands. And the reason why we say brown butter is brown is actually a nutty flavored butter. So it's you're going to take butter, you're going to saute it with some olive oil, because if you just do butter on its own, it's going to burn fast at a high smoke point. You need the olive oil to counterbalance that and keep it from burning. And it's going to also help extend our sauce. So we have a nice long sauce. Because all we're using is butter and oil, garlic, and the vegetables to make our sauce. So we're going to add some butter to this. Okay, just going to let it saute. So we're going to add more as we go. We see the vegetables are absorbing some of the liquid and the flavor. Then we're going to have to add more to stretch that out. You can also add white wine to this if you wanted to really make the sauce a little more liquidy. I like it where it's kind of emulsified into a nice paste. So we're going to add the broccolini because that's going to cook the longest and take the longest. It's going to go in first. And of course we season as we go, always. The salt and pepper are must on every level. Got our water still boiling back there, so it's just salt and pepper. Very important. So every time we add, we salt and pepper. We don't just add salt and pepper to the pan and then we do the broccolini. But when we get the vegetables going, the mushrooms, we'll salt and pepper again a little bit. We'll taste the season. Make sure you know what you're eating. See, you start to heat that up and cook it, how green they get and vibrant. We're going to wind up putting the garlic in probably close to last, because if we put the garlic in first, it'll get crisp and bitter and it'll be almost inedible. You want to always put garlic in at the very end because you want the garlic to still have a little bit of chew and it hasn't got to that bitter phase. We've all had bitter garlic and it's not fun. Garlic is delicious, but it's not good when it's bitter. It'd be hard to get the mushrooms to get contact surface if I just threw them on top of the broccolini. But if I could just put this to the other side of the pan and still have a whole half, plenty of room. So add a little bit more butter this side. Okay, a little more olive oil. We're basically almost creating another pan here. What we're doing. Okay. Now we're going to go into mushrooms. These guys are going to shrink up pretty well, especially when we salt them. We salt and pepper these, especially a mushroom, because we talked about it before, being a sponge. It's going to absorb the salt. It's kind of like a tomato as well, which is why you got to be careful. You don't want to ever salt a tomato too soon or before you're actually going to eat it, because what it'll do is it'll take all the liquid out and suck it dry. Now we can start mixing them in. Pushing and pulling back. Pushing and pulling back. Good. Salt and pepper here. You don't want to over salt. You salt the pasta. And we're also going to finish with pecorino romano. So now we're gonna go ahead and add the pistachios. Okay. I wish you could smell this because it just smells dynamite. I don't want to get my hand chopped off at my friend's house in this pan, so I'm gonna go back to the wooden spoon. You see how now kind of absorbed all that butter, right? All that oil is absorbed into the vegetables, so we still want to make this a sauce, so we're still going to create a little bit at the end. But if you're ever making fresh pasta and you have a farmer's market near you, you go and get some vegetables, whatever fresh, zucchini, tomatoes, broccolini, broccoli rabe. You come home, a little garlic, a little butter, a little olive oil, the vegetables you bought, and fresh pasta, that's all you need. You don't need all the other stuff. You don't want to kill all the flavors. Somebody worked hard to grow all that stuff and make it real pretty, and you don't want to kill it with tomato sauce. I love tomatoes and I love tomato sauce, but it's nice just to have very simple flavor. So now we're going to add the garlic. At the very end, keep it nice. It's going to bring a nice aroma to the dish. The whole house is going to smell like garlic. Usually at this point is when we want people to be coming over. They walk in the house and they get smacked with that garlic flavor. And it seems like you've been slaving over the stove all day, and just the whole house smells amazing. So instead of using the colander, what we're doing here is just some tongs. Have it right into the pan because we want some of that pasta water to actually thicken the sauce. You know, a lot of times people want to wash off the pasta and do something silly like that, which they throw you out of Italy for, but we actually want some of that starchy water to kind of stretch out the sauce. So that's why we're not using the colander and the sink. We're actually just pulling it right from the pot into the pan and cooking it together. Makes more sense that way, and everything just works out better for everybody. So once we get this all incorporated, it's a little tedious because you got to keep going back in. It's going to take a little bit longer, but this pasta cooks so fast. It's all floating right to the top, and we're getting there very soon. So you cooked with Vinny, and I hope you enjoyed. We made fresh pasta, a beautiful sauce, pappardelle, which is amazing and just so rustic, with some broccolini, mushrooms, the pecorino romano, the pistachios, the brown butter, some pinot noir, and what a great day. And friends and family, and I salute, okay? Enjoy.